Hi, kiddo. How was your day? Oh, that sounds interesting. It's been a while since you brought up a creative project. So, does this have some sort of result that you would like to or could share with me? That's all right. Sometimes the process is all that there is to it. But I just want to let you know that if you ever do feel like sharing some sort of something in that vein, I am very much curious. Well, no pressure, but I would enjoy seeing where it goes. Is that pressure? Well, maybe a little bit of pressure then, just a healthy amount. I feel like you have always been a creative person, yeah. Oh, you don't want to challenge that statement with me. Well, give me a second. I know it's around here somewhere. Right. Uh huh. So, do you remember this? It is. It's one of your earlier works. I love this one. Well, it might not be museum ready, but you can't start at museum ready. You have to start from the beginning. That's how it always goes. I'm just gonna put that here. Well, I think if you push yourself and assume that you will be amazing at something from the get go, that's gonna mean you have a bad time. And in a lot of fields, that's going to hold you back more than anything. Yeah, I feel like that makes sense. Of course, if you go the other route and assume that you will never be able to amount to anything and probably shouldn't really try for real either, that will hurt you in other ways. Maybe more subtle, but it's still there. Yeah, I think so. I still stand by the always. I mean, depending on your definition of art, some of your earliest baby pictures, I have you eating crayons, which could technically count as art. I can go get them if you want. We can definitely. Oh, quick to change the subject, huh? We don't have to look at baby pictures. Besides, just take my word for it that the picture's there and we can be done. I mean, that's the weird part. Even if you push me, I don't think I can recall an actual god of painting in any sort of myth. I mean, I don't know everything about everything, obviously, because I'm not divine, I'm just human. But there is gods for artisans, like crafts and making statues, and gods for humor and dancing and all sorts of creative endeavors. But no one explicitly painting. Dancing and humor and that whole performing art was actually the goddess who lured the sun out of its cave in Japanese myth, if you remember. Yeah, this also made her the goddess of dawn and of humor, actually, because, well, laughter, as you might recall, was very important and all that. More or less, that is a divinity who would encompass stand up comedy and just comedy in general, I think. But still, I cannot find anyone for painting things, which feels wild, but here we are. There's just tons of musicians and poets and sort of generic artsy stuff that usually leans in that direction quite a lot. Even in the Nordic myths, we have someone who became, I would say, the god of poetry, but still no painting. Yeah, funny story. It was Odin, actually, which makes sense since he is great with the knowledge and all that. He actually stole the mead of poetry from a pair of giants. Giants just filled the role of orcs and zombies and undead and what have you. It's the default enemy of whoever is listening. Yeah, so stealing from them basically makes you a hero. Two brothers owned the mead. Actually, one of the brothers owned the mead, but the two of them lived together. And Odin heard of it, wanted it, and went to check things out a bit. He found 9 workers working on the fields. And these workers might not be the sharpest sights on the field, quite literally. Yeah, they actually had some problem with that. Their work was very hard and so exhausting. And into the picture comes this stranger who brings to them a millstone, and he sharpens all their sights, and now their work is easy as anything. Wonderful. It was a real gift from above, you might say. Yeah, and some, of course, would argue that if you ever receive any gift of that kind, then you've got it made. But you also need to be able to handle the gift, especially if the gift is as lethal as sights can be. The workers were very excited at this new development, but they did understand that it all came from this amazing rock. Now, all 9 of them very much wanted the rock and were quite excitable about it. Well, Odin did what any sensible person would do in that situation. He tossed the rock up in the air in their general direction. As I said, they all wanted it. They were all very excitable, and all of them had a sight that was a lot sharper than they were used to. So they sort of became a whole mess, and all 9 of them died right there. Yeah, the old Nordic myths don't really do cozy all that much. This was a regular Thursday, I guess. So after this, Odin walks up to the house and he finds one of the brothers, the one who doesn't own the mead, and talks to him and delivers the tragic news that somehow all of their workers just died. Yeah, terrible. And he offers to do the full work of 9 people for an entire season in the fields if, as payment, he could receive the mead of poetry. And as I keep pointing out, it wasn't actually his mead, it was his brother's. So he's like, well, you could probably get some of it. That seems fair. And Odin was promised. And then he did the work, time passed, and as he came to cash out, the other brother who actually owned it was like, no, this is not okay. I never agreed to this. I do feel like there's something going on here. Like he is basically trying to outsly Odin because, his brother probably mentioned in passing at some point, who is this guy doing 9 men's work at the same time without breaking a sweat, and why is he doing it for us? And is there any sort of do you know anything about this? Yeah, feel like again there's a theme here of divine gifts and how to handle them. Yeah, I always feel like talents, and especially in the context of myth, is easily just written as a static thing. Congratulations, you are amazing at this one thing, you have the best stats, but that's not really how life is lived, Yeah, it has to be cultivated in the fields, so to speak. And I think if we look at your picture, that's what you did. Because when we put this on the fridge, my friends came in, they looked at it, and they didn't say something generic like, did your kid make this? But instead, hey, look, it's you. Yes, it's clear, it's obvious, you can see it. Like, look at the eyes, look at the glasses, look at the beautiful mustache. It's clearly, definitely me. I mean, sure, the proportions might be a little bit off, and again, not museum ready, but you are cultivating your talent, which is something I hope you continue doing because it is a joy and hopefully not just for me. Yeah, don't see that as a threat of death. I don't think not cultivating your talents means you will necessarily be a bloody mess in a field one day, but some would probably disagree. Oh, right. So, anyway, the brother who made the promise did feel a bit sorry for Odin, or well, he didn't know it was Odin, but he did feel sorry for the presumed human. So, what he did was to drill a hole in the wall into the place where the meat was kept. Well, Odin, as the sly person he was, turned into a snake and slithered in through the hole. After doing so, he discovered that there was a guard, and the guard in question was a female guard. I mean, he's not Zeus technically, but he is still some sort of a regal figure. Well, not. Anyway, he seduced that guard, and she was very happy about it. And then he just left, basically, and came back again later and did the same thing again and again. And after that, he asked her if maybe he could have some mead. He turns into a snake and then he seduces her after that. Like, if this was a story that was somehow adapted into a Christian legend, who would Odin be? Probably something like that. The connection that exists in the Abrahamic religions between God and good morals, or moral good in some sense, is not really a thing in the ancient myths, and certainly not here, I would reckon. Yeah, I know you know. So anyway, there was 3 barrels of mead, and this guard promised him a sip from each barrel, which, I mean, still doing her job pretty decently after what she's been through. And Odin, being a master drinker, most certainly, sipped up all of it. All of it in each of them. But after that, though, the jig was sort of up. Well, it's not that they knew who he was from that, but it's that he definitely needed to escape, and he needed to do it fast. So, what do you suppose he did next? Exactly. So, he took flight and he pushed himself to be as fast as he possibly could because, of course, the owner of the mead was right behind him, also in bird form. Makes me wonder if this is something to look into, the theme of birds coming back. But they are very good for transportation, I guess. Quite true. Now, back home in Valhalla, someone knew something, and I am going to assume that this someone is probably Heimdall because of his incredible sight. He could see pretty much anything, and because they knew what was up, all of them just run in and fetched anything remotely like a tub and just put it out in the courtyard. And when Odin came flying, pushing himself to his maximum limit of velocity, he just puked up as much of the meat as he possibly could, and it just all landed in various tubs. Yeah, and we're supposed to think that the meat is now fine and dandy and still works. I mean, somehow, this is how birds do it, so I guess that tracks. The giant didn't want to land in the courtyard and inadvertently challenge the vast armies of Valhalla, including all of the gods. This did mean that Odin was safe now and the story is just about over. But he did have a little bit of a mishap after all of that. He pushed himself so much that some of the mead actually came out the other end. And this, canonically, in the Nordic myths at least, is why Some people who do art, and specifically poetry, do it blessed and wonderfully and fantastic, and some do it like crap. Exactly. And I do sort of object to that distinction because you need to start with the crap. Maybe part of the point could be that it's important to learn the basics and not just be seduced by the cool new thing, even if you do have skill. I mean, if we look at the story, even the people who were blessed, so to speak, did end up in a pretty terrible position in the end because they lost their heads. Yeah, always a bad thing to do, pretty much. It's tempting to say that it's always a bad thing, but I do want to have the pretty much in there because when you discover something that is new and exciting, yeah, don't literally lose your head, but let people enjoy things. That is an important part of life in general, and especially creativity, I would say. Yeah. I mean, in my case, I didn't lose my head, but I ended up with an extra large one, which I was quite delighted about. I'm sorry. I think more important than talent is improvement. And even though you have been creative more or less your whole life, you have actually been improving and growing literally your whole life. In the day to day, I can understand why it doesn't feel like it, but I know it. I see it. I do see it with the eyes of love, but I also see it from the outside. I'm so happy to have you in my life, and I love you deeply. I really do, but there's something I should probably add to that. I think it's especially true for all your creative works, but it goes for so much of who you are and what you do. And maybe I don't say it enough, but I love you. And I am so incredibly proud of you. Yes, even the painting you did when you were a kid. Why do you think I put this one on the fridge in the first place? I should honestly have it framed. Because it shows a part of you that was always there. And it shows a part of me that still is. I know I said that you had been doing creative things all your life, but something that you have literally been doing all your life is learning and growing. Yeah, literally. has been an amazing journey. I know it doesn't always look like that for you, but it always does for me. And I am just so happy to be here for it. Oh, I can prove that you have grown all your life. After all, that's what the baby pictures are for. They are very nice, but I prefer that you want to stay here. I'm not trying to chase you away. So I will not try to push them on you. You know why? Well, that too, but I was thinking it's because I love you. Not just the concepts and the pictures and the ideas, but the actual, real you. So I don't want to put you through that. Sometimes, I guess, that's what love is. Well, I love you, kiddo. Today as well as any other day. And I am really grateful for everything you do and have done. I think you're